She was sold to the most dangerous mafia boss in Korea, but what happened next will leave you speechless. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more stories like this. Everybody out. Now. The voice slammed through the club, louder than the music that had just been cut off. The heavy bass was gone, replaced by the sharp echo of boots on the floor as a bodyguard in black strode forward. "The king wants the floor," he barked, scanning the crowd with eyes that dared anyone to argue. Gasps rippled across the room. Then came the whispers. Kim Jae-won. The name spread like poison. Chairs screeched back, drinks were abandoned, and the once crowded club dissolved into chaos. People ran as if death himself had entered. But she didn't move. Arms folded, chin lifted, she stared at the guard as if he had just insulted her personally. "And why should I leave?" she demanded, her voice rising above the panicked shuffle of the crowd. "We paid our money too. His isn't more important than ours." Heads whipped toward her in shock. Her friends tugged at her arms, panic in their eyes. "Please stop," her best friend begged. "Do you even know who you're talking about?" "I don't care," she snapped, yanking free. "Money is money. If he wants the floor, he should buy the whole damn club." The bodyguard's gaze locked on her, dark and dangerous. He moved toward her, his shadow spilling across the floor. "You," he growled, pointing straight at her. "Out. Now." Her heart hammered, but her pride burned hotter. She lifted her chin higher. "And if I don't?" His nostrils flared. His hand shot up, palm open, aiming for her cheek, and then it froze midair. A colder, stronger hand had caught his wrist. The air shifted. Conversations died. The last few stragglers stopped in their tracks. Kim Jae-won had arrived. Tall, immaculate suit, black eyes that could strip a soul bare. He didn't need to speak to command the room. His presence did it for him. The bodyguard dropped his gaze instantly. "Sir," but Jae-won ignored him. His focus was locked on her, the only girl who dared to defy him. He closed the distance slow, deliberate. The heat of his body pressed into her space until she could barely breathe. His fingers tilted her chin up, forcing her eyes to meet his. "The next time," he murmured, voice so soft it made her skin prickle, "you open your mouth against me, will be the last breath you ever draw." Her pulse pounded in her throat, but she refused to flinch. A cruel smile tugged at his lips before he released her, stepping back like a king dismissing a fool. "Run," he ordered. Her friend yanked her arm, nearly dragging her across the floor. The crowd scattered further, staring as if she had just danced with death and somehow lived. Outside, the night air bit against her skin. Her friend spun on her, voice trembling. "Are you crazy? Do you even know who that was?" She ripped her arm free, fire blazing in her eyes. "I don't care who he is. No man tells me what to do." But deep down, the echo of his touch lingered on her chin. And somewhere in her gut, she knew she hadn't escaped him at all. The slam of her bedroom door echoed through the house. She yanked off her heels, tossed them aside, and paced the room like a caged lioness. Her chest still heaved from the confrontation. The memory of that man's voice, that dark, cold whisper, clung to her like smoke. "The next time you open your mouth against me will be the last breath you ever draw." She pressed her hands to her temples. "Arrogant bastard," she hissed under her breath. "Who does he think he is? Clearing an entire club like he owns the city." She didn't notice the faint rumble of an engine pulling into the driveway. Didn't hear the footsteps entering the house. Not until a voice cut into her storm of thoughts, still as stubborn as ever. Her blood froze. She turned toward the door. There, standing with his suitcase in hand and the same calculating glare he always carried, was her father. "Father," she muttered, bitterness dripping from the word. He stepped into her room without knocking, his presence as suffocating as cigarette smoke. His suit smelled of airports and whiskey. His lips curled into a mocking smile. No welcome back, no hug for the man who pays for this roof over your head. She folded her arms, refusing to hide her disgust. "You're not a father. You're a dealer, a liar, a man who ruins everything he touches." His hand twitched at his side, but instead of striking her, he laughed. Cold, sharp. "You still have that mouth. That's exactly why no man will ever want you." Her jaw clenched. "Better unwanted than chained to someone like you." His eyes glinted with something dangerous. He set the suitcase down, leaning closer. Watch your tone. If not for me, you'd be nothing but a nobody in Lagos. She bit her lip, holding back the rage. I'd rather be a nobody than your daughter. For a moment, the air was heavy with silence. Then he smiled, that smile that always came before the worst kind of news. Well, he said smoothly, lucky for you, you won't be my daughter for much longer. Her frown deepened. What are you talking about? He slipped his hands into his pockets, pacing her room as if it belonged to him. I sealed a deal today. A very profitable one. The kind that will keep me untouchable for the next decade. She narrowed her eyes. And what does that have to do with me? His gaze met hers, sharp, merciless. Everything. Because you, my dear, are the deal. Her stomach dropped. What? You heard me. His voice was calm, matter of fact. I owed a debt. A very large one. And as of tomorrow, you'll be the payment. Her breath caught. She shook her head furiously. No. No, I don't care what you've done. You're not trading me like some object. I already did. Her knees weakened, but fury shot through her veins, keeping her upright. You can't be serious. You'd sell your own daughter? I'd sell my soul if it meant keeping my empire. His words were cold, brutal. You're nothing more than leverage. And now, you'll be someone else's responsibility. Tears pricked her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She advanced on him, fingers stabbing the air. I hate you. You've ruined my life from the day I was born. But this is beyond. Enough. His voice cracked like a whip. Do you think your little tantrums matter? You'll do as you're told. If not, he leaned in, his voice a venomous whisper. You know I can make your life worse than death. Don't test me. She staggered back, chest heaving, every nerve screaming to fight him, to claw his eyes out. But beneath the rage was a crushing weight. The truth. He had always gotten his way. And now, he held her fate in his filthy hands. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. Who are you giving me to? He smirked. You'll find out tomorrow at the warehouse. Be ready. And wear something decent. He'll expect it. Her blood ran cold. Warehouse. Tomorrow. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to tear the walls apart. Instead, she stood frozen as he picked up his suitcase and walked out, his parting words twisting the knife deeper. Try to run if you like. You won't get far. The door shut behind him, leaving her alone in the suffocating silence. Her chest heaved. Her fists trembled. She bit down on her lips so hard she tasted blood. She wanted to destroy everything in a room. She wanted to burn him alive. She wanted to run into the night and never look back. Her stomach churned. Her body trembled. And for the first time in her life, she truly felt the weight of fear. The night was colder than usual. The air bit into her skin as the black SUV rumbled through the deserted streets. Her father sat beside her in the back seat, phone pressed to his ear, muttering in a mix of English and Korean. She didn't bother listening. Her hands were clenched in her lap, nails digging crescents into her palms. Every turn of the road made her stomach churn harder. Her heart hammered with a single thought. What if it's him? She squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head. No, it couldn't be. Seoul was full of dangerous men. The chances it was the same man from the club were slim, but the fear gnawed at her anyway, eating her alive from the inside. The SUV finally screeched to a stop. Her father ended the call and smirked at her. We're here. The warehouse loomed before them, massive, steel, and shadowed. The kind of place where lives ended and secrets stayed buried. Its rusted doors groaned as armed men in black slid them open, waving the vehicle in. Inside, the smell of oil, gunpowder, and blood hung heavy. She shivered. The driver killed the engine. 2 guards yanked the doors open. Her father stepped out first. Adjusting his suit like this was nothing more than a business meeting. Out. One of the guards barked at her. Her legs felt like stone, but she moved. The cold floor stung her heels as she followed her father deeper into the warehouse. The men around them whispered into radios, their eyes sharp and merciless. At the center of the vast room was a long metal table, papers spread out, crates stacked high, guns glinting beneath the harsh light. And then she saw him. The world tilted. Leaning against the table with the kind of ease that screamed power, he stood there in a perfectly tailored black suit. His expression was unreadable, his posture relaxed, but his presence consumed the entire warehouse. Kim Jae-won. Her breath hitched, her chest tightening as her worst fear became flesh before her. It was him, the man from the club, the devil she had defied, the one who told her to run. And now, she was the deal. Mr. Kim, her father greeted with a practiced bow. Always a pleasure. Jae-won's gaze shifted lazily from the papers on the table to her father. You're late. Her father chuckled nervously. Traffic. Jae-won didn't laugh. He stepped forward, the sound of his shoes echoing across the floor. His eyes locked onto her. She froze, every inch of her skin burning under his stare. Her father followed his gaze and smirked. As promised. My daughter. The words stabbed her in the chest. She clenched her fists, willing her body not to tremble. Jae-won's eyes raked over her slowly, not with lust, but with the cold, deliberate inspection of a man assessing merchandise. Her pride flared hot, but fear strangled her throat. She's yours, her father continued, a symbol of good faith. Consider our debts cleared. For a moment, silence suffocated the room. Then Jae-won spoke. I don't like sloppy payments, he said evenly, his Korean sharp but smooth. But this one will do. Her heart plummeted. Rage flooded her veins. She wanted to scream, to claw at her father's face, to run straight out the door. But her feet wouldn't move. Jae-won stepped closer. His height dwarfed her, his presence suffocating. He reached out, not harshly, but firmly, and lifted her chin, forcing her eyes to meet his. You defied me once, he murmured. And you're still standing. Interesting. She jerked her chin out of his grasp. Don't touch me. Gasps rippled through the guards. Her father's eyes widened in horror. Apologize, he barked at her. Now. But Jae-won's lips curved into the faintest smirk. Not amused, intrigued. He turned to her father. The debt is cleared. You can leave. Her father blinked, confused. What? You heard me. His voice was ice. Go. Her father sputtered. But she's your responsibility now. Jae-won's gaze sharpened. I said leave. The finality in his tone cut sharper than any blade. Her father swallowed hard, nodded quickly, and gestured for his guards. Within minutes, they were gone, leaving her standing in the center of the warehouse, surrounded by men she didn't know, under the suffocating gaze of a man she feared. The silence was unbearable. She finally found her voice, thin and shaking. What do you want from me? Jae-won studied her for a long moment, then stepped back. Nothing. Her chest tightened. What? I don't want you. His words were sharp, deliberate. You're not my type. Her stomach twisted with a mix of relief and humiliation. He turned to his men. Take her to the estate. 2 guards stepped forward. She stumbled back, panic clawing at her throat. No, don't you dare. But rough hands gripped her arms, dragging her toward the waiting car outside. Her screams echoed through the warehouse, bouncing off the steel walls. Through the blur of panic, she glanced back. Jae-won was still watching her, expression unreadable, like a man observing a game piece he had just moved into position. And in that moment, she realized something far worse than being sold. She hadn't been claimed as payment. She had been claimed as a possession. The ride to his estate felt endless. Every streetlight that flashed through the tinted windows seemed to mock her. One more step away from freedom, one more step deeper into his world. The guards flanking her said nothing. Their grips on her arms were iron, not cruel, but unyielding. She could have screamed, clawed, kicked, but what would it change? They were stone. She was nothing but a fly trapped in their grasp. The car rolled through massive gates, and for the first time, she lifted her head enough to see. The mansion was a fortress. Black iron fences crowned with spikes stretched across acres of land. Security cameras tracked every angle. The building itself rose like a palace carved from shadows, all glass, steel, and intimidating lines that screamed money and menace. Armed guards patrolled the grounds, rifles gleaming under floodlights. Her breath caught. It wasn't a house. It was a kingdom, and its king was waiting for her. The SUV stopped at the entrance. The guards dragged her out. The stone steps were cold under her heels as they pushed her forward. The heavy double doors swung open, and there he was, Kim Jae-won. standing in the grand hall, hands tucked in his pockets, jacket draped perfectly across his shoulders, eyes as dark as midnight. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her approach like a hawk watches prey. Her knees wanted to buckle, but pride forced her spine straight. She would not cower. Not in front of him. The guards shoved her forward and bowed. Boss. He dismissed them with a flick of his fingers. They vanished without a sound, leaving her alone in the vast hall with him. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. The chandelier above them glittered. The marble floors reflected her trembling form. Finally, his voice broke the air.
Calm. Low.
Dangerous. You screamed as if I was going to kill you. She flinched, her fists clenching. Wouldn't you? Isn't that what you do? Kill, take, destroy? His lips curved, not into a smile, but something crueler. You've done your research. She spat the words before she could stop herself. I don't need research to see a monster. For a moment, his expression didn't change. Then he stepped closer, slow, deliberate. Her pulse skyrocketed. She wanted to run, but her pride rooted her to the spot. He stopped inches from her, close enough that the faint scent of smoke and cedar wrapped around her like chains. Monster, he murmured, his gaze locked on hers. Do you know what monsters do to women like you? Her chest heaved. Her lips trembled, but she forced her voice out. Try it, and I'll tear your eyes out. A dangerous pause. Then a soft chuckle. Cold, mocking. He leaned down until his lips brushed her ear. Relax. I'm not attracted to you. The words sliced sharper than any slap. She jerked back, eyes wide. What? He straightened, his expression unreadable. You're not my type. Don't flatter yourself. Heat flooded her cheeks, not from shame, but from fury. Then why am I here? She demanded. Because you're leverage. His tone was clipped, businesslike. Your father's pawn. My bargaining chip. Nothing more. Her stomach twisted. She wanted to scream, to curse, to claw at him, but he had already turned his back on her, walking toward the grand staircase as if she were nothing but furniture. Follow, he commanded. Her body obeyed before her mind could protest. Up the stairs, down a long hallway lined with doors that gleamed with expensive wood. At the far end, he opened one and gestured inside. The room was vast, beautiful. A canopy bed draped in silk, tall windows overlooking the sprawling city, every corner glittering with wealth. She turned on him, fire blazing in her chest. I don't want your luxury. I want out. He leaned against the doorframe, hands still in his pockets. Out. His eyes darkened. Do you want me to escort you out? Back into the streets where every rival gang would gut you before dawn? Or perhaps back to your father, who already sold you once? Her throat tightened. He tilted his head. No? Then stay quiet. Sleep. And if you're smart, don't test me again. He shut the door. The click of the lock echoed through the room like a gunshot. She spun around, fists clenched, chest heaving. Rage and humiliation battled inside her, fighting to consume her whole. She paced the room, yanked at the window, bars on the outside, kicked at the door, solid steel frame, tore at the silk sheets until they ripped in her hands. But no matter what she did, the truth pressed down on her. She was trapped, and worse than being trapped, she was dismissed. For hours, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the door, waiting for it to creak open, waiting for the sound of boots approaching, waiting for him to come in and claim what he had bought. But the footsteps never came. When dawn finally broke, she was still awake, her eyes burning, her body trembling with exhaustion and rage. And for the first time in her life, she realized something terrifying. This wasn't just her father's world. It wasn't just his betrayal. This was Kim Jae-won's kingdom. And she was the prisoner of a king who didn't want her, yet refused to let her go. The estate was a cage dressed in silk. Days passed in suffocating silence, marked only by the echo of guards' boots and the constant buzz of surveillance cameras. She ate meals she didn't want, slept in sheets that didn't comfort her, and stared at the locked door like it was mocking her. But he barely appeared. Kim Jae-won moved like a shadow through the house. Meetings in the study. Calls in the dead of night. Men came and went, whispering in hushed tones, and every time she caught a glimpse of him, he walked past her as if she were invisible, ignored, unwanted, yet trapped. It should have been a relief that he didn't touch her, didn't demand anything from her. But instead, it burned. The insult cut deeper than fear. To him, she wasn't even worthy of notice. Until the cousin arrived. It was late afternoon when she first saw him. The sound of laughter, smooth, careless, drifted through the hall before the door swung open. A man entered the sitting room where she sat curled on the couch, staring at nothing. He was tall like J1 but lighter in aura, his black hair falling messily across his forehead, his smile sharp but charming. Well, he said in perfect English, his accent tinged with soul. So it's true. My cousin brought home a firecracker. Her head snapped up. Her heart raced, another stranger in this cage. And you are? He placed a hand on his chest, mock bowing. Kim Minjun. Cousin, advisor, occasional troublemaker. And you? His eyes sparkled as they swept over her. You're the infamous payment. Her jaw tightened. I'm not a payment. I'm a prisoner. His smile widened. Ah, even better. Prisoners are always more interesting, she glared, but he only sank into the chair opposite hers, crossing his legs with easy arrogance. You know, Minjun mused, leaning forward, I've never seen J1 bring someone here. Not like this. He must see something in you. Her laugh was bitter. He sees nothing. He made that clear. Minjun tilted his head, studying her. Nothing? That doesn't sound like him. My cousin doesn't waste space. If he didn't want you here, you'd be gone. Her chest tightened. Gone. The word echoed in her mind like a forbidden dream. She looked away, blinking back the heat stinging her eyes. Minjun's voice softened slightly. You don't belong here, do you? She snapped her gaze back to him, surprised at the flicker of something almost human in his tone. No, she whispered, her voice raw. I don't. Their eyes locked, and for a fleeting moment, she saw something dangerous flicker behind his charm. Not pity, not kindness, something hungrier. The door creaked open. J1 entered, his presence slamming into the room like thunder. His gaze landed on them, and though his expression remained cold, something shifted in his eyes when he saw her sitting across from Minjun. Minjun leaned back casually, smirking. Relax, cousin. I was just keeping her company. J1's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, his gaze flicking from her to Minjun. She doesn't need your company. Her chest burned. The insult stung, but her pride shoved her words past her lips. Better his company than being ignored by you. The air thickened. Even Minjun raised his brows, amused. For the first time, she saw J1's composure crack. His hand clenched at his side, his eyes darkened, his jaw ticked. Careful, he said, his voice low, dangerous. You forget where you are. She stood, her body trembling, but her chin lifted high. No. I remember exactly where I am. A cage. And I will keep fighting until I break it. For a moment, silence reigned. Then J1's lips curled into the faintest smirk, cruel, amused, but shadowed by something she couldn't name. He turned abruptly, his voice clipped. Dinner. Now. Minjun chuckled as he rose, his eyes lingering on her. She's going to make your life very, very interesting, cousin. 1. As they followed J1 into the dining hall, her thoughts raced. Minjun's attention unsettled her. His charm was sharp, almost seductive, but it carried the same darkness as his cousin's. And J1, though he denied wanting her, though he dismissed her at every turn, there was something in the way his jaw clenched, the way his eyes burned when he found her with Minjun. A crack. Small, but real. And she would exploit it. Dinner that night was quiet. Too quiet. She sat at the far end of the long mahogany table, the food before her steaming and untouched. Crystal chandeliers glittered above, silver cutlery gleamed under the light, but the air was thick with tension. J1 ate in silence, his posture perfect, his eyes fixed on his plate. Minjun, however, stole glances at her, his lips curving in that same mischievous smirk that made her skin crawl. Forks scraped. Wine glasses clinked. The walls themselves seemed to hold their breath. When she finally pushed her plate away, J1's eyes lifted. You didn't eat. His voice was calm, but it wasn't a question. I'm not hungry, she said flatly. Minjun chuckled under his breath. She's got fire, cousin. Don't let it burn you. The look J1 shot him was sharp enough to cut steel. Stay out of it. Minjun only grinned wider, leaning back in his chair like a man who enjoyed poking lions. She rose, her hands trembling under the table, but her chin held high. I don't want your food. I don't want your luxury. I want out. The silence that followed was a heavy slap. Even Minjun went still, watching with fascination. Jae-won set his fork down slowly, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and stood. His chair scraped back against the polished floor, echoing through the hall. Follow me. Her heart lurched. She wanted to refuse, but something in his tone left no room for disobedience. Against her will, her feet carried her after him, down the hall, past the guards who averted their eyes, and into the darkened garage beneath the estate. The air smelled of oil, leather, and gunmetal. At the far end, two of his men dragged a man to his knees. His face was bloodied, his hands bound. He whimpered in Korean, words she couldn't understand but fear that she could feel. She froze. What is this? Jae-won walked forward, slipping on black gloves with a slow, practiced ease. His men straightened the prisoner, forcing his head up. This, Jae-won said coolly, is what betrayal looks like. The bound man sobbed something desperate. Jae-won didn't flinch. He reached into his coat, pulled out a gun, and pressed the barrel against the man's forehead. Her stomach twisted violently. She staggered back. No, stop.
Don't.
The shot rang out. Blood splattered across the floor, hot and metallic. The man's body crumpled like a puppet with its strings cut. Her scream ripped through the garage, raw and unrestrained. She stumbled back against the wall, covering her mouth with shaking hands. Her chest heaved, her entire body trembling as the smell of gunpowder and blood clawed at her senses. He turned.
Calm. Cold.
His gun still smoking. His eyes met hers, not apologetic, not regretful. But there was something else there. Something sharp. Something heavy. You wanted to know who I am, he said evenly. Now you know. Her knees buckled. She slid down the wall, her breath shallow, her vision spinning. You're a monster, she whispered, her voice breaking. A soulless monster. He walked toward her, slow, deliberate, until he crouched before her. His gloved hand reached out, wiping a stray tear from her cheek with shocking gentleness. Monster, he repeated softly.
Yes.
But monsters are the only ones who survive in this world. Her eyes burned as she shoved his hand away. Then I don't want to survive in your world. The words cut through the garage like a blade. For the first time, he didn't smirk, didn't mock. His expression flickered. Something raw, something broken, something almost human. He stood abruptly, snapping off his gloves. Take her upstairs, he ordered his men. His voice was sharp, but not steady. They obeyed. As they dragged her back toward the mansion, her tears blurred the hallways into streaks of gold and shadow. Her heart pounded with hatred, with fear, but beneath it all, with confusion. Because even as she called him a monster, even as she trembled from the blood on his hands, one image seared into her mind. The flicker she'd seen in his eyes, the crack in his armor, the part of him that wasn't the Mafia king, the part of him that, against all reason, had chosen not to break her. The mansion felt colder after the garage. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of shadows on the walls made her skin crawl. She couldn't close her eyes without seeing the body drop, without hearing the gunshot echo in her skull. But it wasn't just the blood that haunted her. It was him. The way he'd looked at her afterward, not proud, not smug, but broken. As if a war raged inside him, one he couldn't win. And she hated herself for remembering it. That night, she couldn't stay in her room. The walls pressed in too tight, the bars on the windows mocking her. So she crept out, silent as she could, her bare feet brushing against the polished floors. Every hallway felt like a gauntlet. Cameras followed her, guards lingered at corners, but somehow she made it through, out into the garden. For the first time since she'd been dragged here, she breathed. The night air was sharp, filled with the scent of roses and gun oil. Freedom was just beyond those gates. She ran. Her feet pounded the gravel. Her heart soared with every step closer to the fence. Just a little farther. Just a little more. A hand caught her arm, yanking her back so hard she nearly fell. She gasped, spinning. His grip was unbreakable, his eyes blazing under the moonlight. Where? He growled. Do you think you're going? She ripped at his hold, tears stinging her eyes. Anywhere but here. I'd rather die than live as your prisoner. His jaw clenched. His other hand slammed against the fence beside her, trapping her between steel and his body.
Die.
His voice was rough, ragged. You think death is freedom? Her chest heaved. Better than being owned by a monster. The words sliced him. She saw it, a flicker of pain across his face, quickly buried under ice. His breath came fast, too close, too heavy. Monster, he whispered, his voice breaking.
Yes.
That's all I am. And yet, his hand rose, brushing her cheek with trembling restraint. Why can't I let you go? Her throat tightened. She wanted to slap him, to spit in his face, but her body betrayed her, frozen, caught in the fire of his eyes. Because you don't want me, she forced out, her voice cracking. You want control. You want power. You want everything but me. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. His jaw worked, his chest rose and fell, his grip on her arm loosened. Then he pulled her into him, his forehead pressing against hers. His voice was a broken growl. You're wrong. I don't want power. I don't want control. I want you. Her breath hitched. His words were raw, too raw, tearing straight through her defenses. I fought it, he confessed, his voice low and desperate. I tried to ignore you, to treat you like nothing. But every time you defy me, every time you look me in the eye without fear, you burn me alive. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then let me go. He shook his head, his grip trembling at her waist. I can't. If I let you go, I lose the only thing that makes me human. Her body trembled against his. Every instinct screamed to push him away. But her heart, traitorous, fragile, beat wildly under his touch. She saw it now, clear as day. The king, the devil, the monster, and beneath it, the man. Broken, bleeding, chained to a throne he never wanted. Her voice was a whisper. Then change. Prove you're not just a monster. His eyes searched hers, desperate, searching for something to hold onto. And for the first time, the Mafia king bent. His lips found hers, not brutal, not claiming, but aching, trembling, as if he'd been starved of this all his life. The world stilled. The mansion, the guards, the blood, the danger. All of it melted away in that single, stolen moment. When he pulled back, his voice was hoarse.
Stay.
With me. And I'll burn this empire to the ground if it means keeping you. Her tears fell freely. Her heart battled between fear and hope, between hatred and the terrifying pull of love. And though her lips trembled, she whispered the truth she could no longer deny. You already have me.